I welcome all of you to NIMI online training program. Today we are going to discuss about the phases of skill learning. The 7 steps method of transfer of skill. It was Seymour Brothers 1954 introduced to break down the job into several parts as key points and prescribed 7 method of transfer of skill. Then what are the 7 steps method for transferring of skill? First, show the learners how to do it. Next, explain the key points. Next, let them watch you do it again. Let them do the simple and complex part of the job separately. Next, help them to do the whole job. Next, let them do the whole job but watch again. Put them on job for their own practice. Okay, in the 7th step, first of all, the trainer have to show the learners how to do it. And the trainer have to explain the key points. And the next point they have to watch it. And also the instructor have to do it again. The simple and complex part of the job have to be done separately. First, no need to do it all together as a whole job. We can divide it into simple and complex part, and that can be done separately. Next, help them to do the whole job. The instructor have to help the trainees to do the job as a whole part. That is, we have to link it. While they are practicing, the instructor have to watch them. This is refinement. Next, put them on the job for their own practice. We have to give the different practice to them. They have to do the practice repeatedly. Next is the phases of learning. True and complete learning is said to be comprise 3 different phases. These are the phase of acquisition, phase of retention and phase of recall. First, what is phase of acquisition? This phase of learning means to make impressions on the mind. Attention and perception are the 2 main factors involved in this stage of learning. Both voluntarily and involuntarily kinds of motivation are useful for the purpose of acquisition in a learning situation. That is, in the case of acquisition, the phase of acquisition, the main important points are the attention and perception. Attention, a trainee can be attentive in 2 ways. It can be voluntarily or involuntarily. Voluntarily means in his own interest he is attending the class. Involuntarily means we are giving an external motivation to him to make attentive in the class. Next, phase of retention. One tends to forget things he has learned if he doesn't use them. Many things are remembered almost for the entire lifetime of an individual if these have been overlearned. Another important factor which affects retention is the meaningful organization of the material. As a human being, there is a tendency to forget things. So, if it is overlearned, then there is no chance of forgetting the things. Once we have studied, it won't forget in our entire life. Like that, we have to practice. This can be attained by the systematic way of practicing the skill. Next, phase of recall. The 3rd phase of learning is called recall. Learning is said to be complete only when the learner can recall the material from memory when it is needed. The principles of recall to memory may be explained through the law of association. So, in the case of learning, whenever a knowledge is required, a trainee must be able to recall that from the previous knowledge. Then only we can tell he is having a good phase of recall. So, it is related to the law of association. That means he have to relate the things to the previous knowledge. Next, phases of skill learning. The development of physical skill takes place under three distinct phases. They are cognitive phase, fixation phase and autonomous phase. Cognitive phase. In this phase, the learners under the guidance of the instructor develops the related knowledge or theory in executing the skill. The learner has to observe the skill which has to do later that the instructor described. What to do, how to do and what are the safety precautions be observed while doing the skill. The instructor also explained the sequential procedures by which skill can be completed within minimum error. In this phase, instructor demonstrates the skill so as to show the learner systematic way of doing the skill. So, in the cognitive phase, the instructor have to give the systematic training to the trainees. It is the role of the instructor to give the systematic training to the trainees, that is what is to be done and how to do the skill and what are the safety points to be observed while doing or practicing the skill. Everything have to be explained in a systematic manner. Next, fixation phase. In this phase, learns the correct behavior without making any mistakes through repetitions. Correct behavioral patterns are practiced with the change of making incorrect responses is reduces to zero error. Thus, the behavior of the learner or the systematic way of doing the skill is fixed. So, in the fixation phase, the learner have to practice the skill properly and he have to do it repeatedly and he have to be in a stage of doing the skill without errors, that is it must be zero error. Next, autonomous phase. In this phase, the learner learns to perform his job independently without error and within the stipulated time. The learner gets a self-confidence and characterized by the reduction of the need for conscious attention and thinking of the action. In this phase, the learner gets the expertness and attains a better performance of the skill. So, in the autonomous phase, the learner or the trainee must be able to do the work or the job independently without error and without the guidance of the instructor also. And also he have to complete that within the stipulated time. He have to attain self-confidence and also attention must be there for practicing a skill. And finally, he must be an expert and he must have better performance in his skill. Next, process of acquiring the skill. Skill can be acquired only after undergoing a practical training. The instructor will demonstrate the skill elements systematically with safety precautions to follow in handling the tools, instruments, equipments, machineries, etc. in sequential order. After that, the trainees to do the task assigned in a proper manner. They must pass the stages of observation, participation, imitation and repetition. So, which are these stages in detail? First, observation. The instructor first demonstrates the operation of the particular machine. The trainee's job is to observe the demonstration. The trainees should observe the following things. That is, in the observation, the trainee has to observe what are the points demonstrated by the instructor, and these points includes what is being demonstrated, the method of performing a skill, the techniques of performing the operation, the correct way of handling tools and equipments and safety precautions to be followed. Next, participation. The trainees will be given an opportunity to handle the tools or raw materials used in the demonstration. The instructor will give the guidance only when necessary. This will develop their ability to handle or use the tools, etc., and also to work in a group with the confidence. That is, After the observation, the trainee immediately have to practice this, and he have to know how to handle the tools, raw materials, everything in a proper manner. And also in this participation stage, the instructor have to guide them if it is necessary. Next is imitation. In this stage, the learners try to imitate the instructor. This will be their first experience of doing any job. The instructor should guide the trainees at this stage. The important thing that an instructor has to keep in mind is that imitation must be arranged immediately, without which the trainees tend to forget what they observe. This will be the first experience of the trainee, so the mistakes may happen. If the mistakes happens, the instructor have to guide them and correct the mistakes. Next, repetition. In the imitation stage, with proper guidance of an instructor, the trainees learn proper method and technique of practical work. For perfection, speed and accuracy, they have to repeat it again and again. So, repetition plays an important role while acquiring and mastering the skill. So, in the repetition means, in the imitation stage, the proper guidance is given by the instructor. The trainee has to repeat the same practice number of times. Then only he can be confident about that skill. So, repetition plays an important role in the case of skill learning. So, today we discussed about the phase of skill learning in detail. I hope that all of you understood about this topic, phases of skill learning. Thank you.